Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back. Free Advice Friday. Looking forward to hanging out with you guys. Looking forward to answering your voiceover business and marketing questions and covering as many things as I can over the course of the next hour or so. So that is the plan for today for Free Advice Friday. So thank you for hanging out. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your questions as well. Looking forward to getting into this with you on the live stream. I want to talk about something right off the top here while we wait for people to join in and we wait for some questions to pop into the chat. I'm running this Final 90 marketing challenge right now for VOpreneur. And a bunch of voice actors signed up. And the way it worked, pretty simple. Every single day from October 1st through December 31st, I am sending out a new marketing challenge. And those challenges are meant to be, relatively quick, easy things that you can do. But the idea is just getting people into the habit of taking one action every single day, regardless of how big or how small it is, one action every single day that can potentially move the needle a little bit further forward for your voiceover business. And so that's what this Final 90 challenge has been all about. And as I've been trying to come up with these challenges, I will admit that, maybe there's a little bit of selfishness involved, but I'm thinking about what are some of the things that I need to be thinking about? What are some of the things that I need to be working on? Because obviously, if those are things that I need to be doing in my own voiceover business, those are things that, probably other voice actors need to be paying attention to as well. One of the challenges that came out this week was actually a really good one. And it was to go back and look at your sequences. So for any of you who are using any kind of email automation software, I use Nimble as my CRM, and Nimble gives me the ability to do automated email sequences. But there are other tools that let you do that as well. Tools like Apollo, for example, other CRMs that have that functionality built into it. I wrote my email sequences over a year ago, and that was when I first started them. And I have multiple sequences that I'm running, probably about 10 different sequences that I'm running right now. And one of the things that I had never done was revisited those sequences. So I wrote those emails a year ago, set them off. They were running. I've been letting them run for the last year, sending those out to new leads and to prospects that are in my database. But at no point did I ever take the time to revisit that sequence other than looking at the results, right? Paying attention to, am I getting some clicks? Am I getting some responses and stuff like that? But I had never really sat down and analyzed the actual content. And so that was one of the marketing challenges that I included in the Final 90 this week. So one of the days was to revisit at least one of your email sequences and determine, is it still good? Is it still saying the things that I need it to say? Does it need to be updated in any way? And so that was one of the things that I did. And let me tell you, I was pretty happy with my sequences. I didn't make a lot of changes, a couple little small tweaks here and there, but I did talk to some other voice actors who were like, yeah, I definitely needed to update that. I had some old information, or maybe there was some dates that were thrown in there, or talked about specific times of the year or whatever. If you are running any kind of automated sequence, whether it is through your CRM or through some other email marketing tool, I just really want to encourage you to maybe once a quarter, set a reminder for yourself to go back through, read each one of the emails in that sequence and ask yourself, are these still relevant? Is this still what I want to be talking about? Are these still the things that I want to be saying? I think you do that in addition to making sure that you're observing, am I getting the responses that I want to get? Are people actually reaching out and replying? Obviously, those metrics are really important as well. There's no point in sending email sequences to hundreds of people if those sequences aren't working. But making sure that you're taking the time to evaluate those sequences to make sure that they're achieving all of the objectives that you have set for them. So that was a really good challenge this week to have the opportunity to go back and revisit that, and something that maybe we don't always think about. So there you go. For those of you who are not participating in the Final 90, that's like a bonus tip that you get to have that some of the other people who are in the challenge had to be thinking about. So with Free Advice Friday, it's pretty straightforward. Welcome to the show. Looking forward to hanging out with you for the next little while and answering your voiceover business and marketing questions. If you do have a question that you would like to ask and get answered, by all means, please feel free to type it into the comments, put a Q beside it. Makes it a little bit easier for me to see it, for it to pop out on my screen. And I'm just going to hang out here for a little while and answer as many questions as I possibly can. Matt says, when is it okay to have one Facebook page for personal and one for VO? So this is an interesting question, Matt, and I wanna make sure that we understand the terminology properly. So Facebook profiles is what everybody goes and sets up when they sign up for Facebook. And according to Facebook, you are allowed to have one profile. According to the terms of use of Facebook, you are also not allowed to conduct business through your profile. Now, how heavily is that policed? I don't really know. Maybe it depends on what kind of business you're operating. Like, can you post stuff in Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that? Sure. But technically, you are not supposed to use a profile for business purposes. And that is why Facebook has business pages. So you can have one Facebook profile, but you can have multiple business pages. Now, do I think there's a ton of value in a Facebook business page? Not really. Not anymore. I don't, unless you're going to advertise. And this is the reason why Facebook wants you to have a business page. Organic reach on Facebook business pages is almost non-existent at this point. They have pretty much squashed it to nothing. It used to be close to like 10 or 15%. Now it's often less than 1%. So that means that less than 1% of the people who follow your page will actually see your content organically. Now, if you post something and people start to engage with that content, then of course it's going to continue to grow. So you can grow organic reach through engagement, but not everybody is able to do that. So Facebook squashes organic reach initially in hopes that people will get frustrated and buy advertising. So you cannot buy Facebook ads under your profile, but you can buy Facebook ads under your business page. So back to your original question, Matt, when is it okay to have one page for business, one and one for personal, one for VO? Technically speaking, your Facebook profile is for your personal. Your Facebook business page would be for your voiceover business. Now, even if you're not going to use the Facebook business page to be a regular content creator and all of that sort of stuff, is there still value in having the page? I mean, yeah, it's one more place where you exist on the internet. It's one more place where you can share your demos, have your contact information, get a backlink for your website, all of that sort of stuff. So I'm not going to say there's no value there. But if your plan is, I'm going to create a Facebook business page, I'm going to post content all the time, I'm going to grow my business through my Facebook business page, I'm not going to say it's not possible. I'm just going to say it's an uphill climb, particularly if you are not going to use paid advertising in order to make that happen. So I don't know if that specifically answers your question, Matt. If you want clarity on any of that, by all means, feel free to type another question and I'll certainly try to clarify. Natalie says, are there people who build their careers or make their living solely through their agency rep? Yeah, there definitely are. I would say that those people are what we would consider the A-lister VOs, not celebrity. Well, I mean, maybe minor celebrity. I don't want to offend anyone. Are there people that do it? Yeah. Are they the majority of voice actors? No, I don't think so. I think they're a very small percentage of voice actors. I think if you look at NAVA's State of Voiceover survey, where they conduct some surveys and do some polling on some of this sort of stuff, I think you'll see that there are some voice actors who are making an incredible living. They're making it exclusively through their agents, but they represent small single-digit percentages of people who are doing it. And so it's something to think about. I'm not saying it's not possible. Of course it is. But again, like anything else, it's an uphill climb. And so for a lot of voice actors, it just makes sense to have some of those alternate income streams that are available to you while you're trying to build that agency career, if that's what you're going for. I could be wrong on this. I think you're probably in a situation where you would have a higher probability of making it happen if you are in one of the major centers, if you are in a New York, a Chicago, an LA, or something like that. Can you get top agency representation from anywhere in the country? Yes, absolutely. Can you do sessions via Source Connect? Yes, absolutely. But it seems like the ones who are at that level where they're making really, really great money, having very successful careers and doing it exclusively through their agents, I would say most of those people, if you look at them, are probably somewhere in one of those major centers. Oh man, Tab showed up and she's got a big question, not just a little question, not just an average question, a big Q. How do you follow up with leads forever and adding to the leads list? How do you keep up with them all? What do you say when you have thousands that you have to message every year, every month? How often? Okay, so going back to what I was talking about earlier, this is one of the areas where email sequences have come into play for me. When I'm reaching out to new leads, after I send them the personalized introductory email, I put them into a follow-up sequence, and that follow-up sequence is fully automated. So I do not have to go back and remember to send those emails on a regular basis. I also have separate follow-up sequences that I use for prospects. So the people who have not hired me yet, but have expressed a potential interest in hiring me. And so I have a totally separate set of email sequences that I use for that. And so that is automated as well. Some people choose to do that through newsletters. They send out a monthly update or something like that. I'm not going to say that won't work. I think that it's got to be really good, though. I think you got to have a really good reason for getting into people's email inboxes. And if your primary reason is, hey, look at me and this work that I've done, not a lot of people are going to care about that. I'm not going to say nobody, but not a lot of people are going to care about that. So that it's a strategy. It is not a strategy that I generally use. I do large group emails to my clients periodically, but again, typically because I have a very specific reason. I'm going to be on holidays. I'm going to be out of the office. I want to let them know. I send out strategic emails when I've updated demos or worked on particular types of content or whatever. I'm always looking for ways to add value to these people as well. And so, came across an article, podcast, whatever, things of that nature. So I'm really just trying to make sure if I'm going to get in your inbox, I really want to get in your inbox for a good reason. I would love to pull some specific questions to that net of people and actors. I'm sure you probably would. I got to tell you, oh man, I shouldn't say this because I'm going to get in trouble, but you brought up the word polling and made me think about it. So I don't know how many of you guys sat in on the V123 Pros webinar yesterday. I did not sit in on the webinar. I was not able to, but I have had a conversation with somebody who was in it, and they showed a question or a comment, a quote from Rolf Veldman, who is the CEO of Voice123. And I'm paraphrasing here a little bit. So, I apologize if I don't get it quite right. But the paraphrase was basically, if you can't 10x your investment in 2 years on Voice123, this might not be the right platform for you. So if you can't 10x your investment in 2 years, this might not be the right platform for you. And my immediate instinct was to create a 1-question poll. Have you 10x'd your your investment on Voice123 in 2 years? And I wanted to send that out to the 4,000 people that are on my email list and see how many have actually 10x'd, because I'm going to guess that the number of people who have actually 10x'd their investment on Voice123 in 2 years is probably single digits. In which case, that would mean, according to the CEO of Voice123, that none of us should be on that platform. None of us are good enough for that platform. Now, I would tend to interpret that in a different way. I would tend to interpret that maybe there's flaws in the platform that's making it too difficult for people to book. But that's just me, and a lot of people say I'm jaded on casting sites, and so that's fair as well. But man, I'm telling you, it took every ounce of restraint in me to not send out that poll question yesterday, because I definitely wanted to dig a little bit deeper into that. Is emailing audio post-production studio still a good resource for auditions beside agency reps? I think anywhere where they are hiring voice actors, or there's the potential that they are hiring voice actors, it's worth an email. I genuinely believe that. I think you don't have a lot to lose by taking the time to send those emails out. But you've got pretty decent upside if somebody ultimately actually hires you. So the question that I'm asking myself is there evidence that this place is hiring voice actors, or is there evidence to a strong probability that this place is hiring voice actors? And if I can see evidence to either one of those, then it may be worth an email or a LinkedIn connection request, or however it is that you ultimately choose to reach out to these people. So again, guys, welcome to Free Advice Friday. If you've got questions you would like to ask and get answered, that's what I'm here for, hanging out to answer as many questions as I can. If you do have a question that you want to ask, I would just ask you to please put a Q beside it when you type it in the comments. That way, when things get going really heavy in the chat, sometimes it's hard for me while I'm actually live and trying to read at the same time. It's hard for me to keep up with everything, so it's easier if I can just see that Q and know, oh, there's a question. Let me answer that question. So if you do have a question, again, feel free to type it in the comments and put a Q beside it. I will answer as many as I can. Tab says, let's say that if sending follow-up emails to people that never respond, I will give up after a point. I will. So my follow-up sequence to new leads has about half a dozen emails in it. And if they do not respond after half a dozen emails, then I'm probably going to let them go. Now, I might revisit them later on. I might try again in 6 months or something like that, but I'm not just going to keep new leads in a perpetual state of email. It's not worth it to me. And I don't think the payoff is there. You also have to take into consideration, email deliverability and all that sort of stuff. If you're sending that many emails and not, you get to a point where you're sending thousands of emails, not getting any responses, that's going to impact your email deliverability score as well. So yeah, I do cut off my new lead follow-ups after a point if I do not receive any kind of response from them. I have a commercial demo and a corporate e-learning demo. I have no idea how to market myself. What do you suggest? Okay, so first thing I would suggest is go back and listen to the Everyday VOpreneur podcast. 325 episodes. So much of it is just great advice on business and marketing and how to target different areas. You could certainly go back and listen for episodes that have talked about commercial, episodes that have talked about e-learning. I don't know if I've ever done an actual episode directly speaking to corporate narration, although now, I'm going to make a note of this. I'm going to, corporate narration. And I actually have somebody in mind for that as well. Corporate narration. Sorry. See, this is what happens when you're live on the internet. Making a note of that. The question you have to ask yourself is, where is this content getting created? Who are the companies that are producing the commercials? Who are the companies that are producing the e-learning? Who are the companies that are producing the corporate videos? When you find the companies that are producing the content, that's a pretty good place to start for where to market. Now, that doesn't mean those are the only places where you're going to be able to market for that type of work, but it's certainly a good place to start. It's certainly more nuanced than that. I can't walk you through the entire process of what that marketing cycle would look like in the scope of a free live stream like this. But bottom line is, who's creating this type of content? How can I get connected with them? Whether that's reaching out to them through email, through LinkedIn, through some other social media platform, but how can I reach out to them and strike up a conversation with them? That's what your goal is. If I can strike up a conversation with them, convince them to listen to my demos, then if my demos are good, I believe, then my demos will sell themselves. So that's what I would be looking at. I would be looking at who is creating that content. I get the process, but can I outsource this stuff? Any ideas where to find someone who can implement this for me? Dave, yes, sir. There is an organization called VA4VO. If you actually search on this YouTube channel, I have had the ladies from VA4VO on the show. We've done webinars together where they talk about that exact process. But the bottom line is, VA4VO is an organization that connects voice actors who are looking to hire a virtual assistant with virtual assistants who happen to also be voice actors. So as a voice actor, you would go to VA4VO and you would have an intake interview with them and you would say, I want to get help with whatever, name it. I want to get help with lead generation. I want to get help with email marketing. Then they're going to say, okay, they're going to walk you through some questions, get a better sense of what you need. And then they are going to match you with a couple of virtual assistants who would do that type of work. And then you have the opportunity to negotiate with those people for rate and all of that sort of stuff. So VA4VO, I tease them that they're the Tinder of voice acting. They're strictly doing the matchmaking. They're not an agency. They're not negotiating rates and all of that sort of stuff for you. They are simply saying, okay, I'm going to take this voice actor who needs these services. I'm going to find a match with a virtual assistant who provides those services, put the two of them together, let them do their thing. So that is what VA for VO is. I just put a link into the chat. It's a webinar that I did with Bridget and Lynn, who are the founders of VA for VO. So you can watch that webinar if you want. It explains it a little bit more. It's called Need Help with Your To-Do List. It's time to outsource. You can also just go to vaforvo.com. Actually, let me put that in the chat as well. vaforvo.com. That's in the chat as well. And yes, there are and I mean, that's one option. There are, of course, other options for where you could go to source this stuff. Could you find somebody on Fiverr? Sure. Could you find somebody on Freelancer? Sure. Could you find somebody on Upwork? Sure. The advantage to VA for VO is the people that will be working as your virtual assistant are people who are already in the voiceover space. And so there's a lot less of a learning curve, really is what it comes down to. If you work with somebody who's outside of the voiceover space and you say, hey, I'm a voice actor, I want you to find 100 voiceover leads for me. The first thing they're probably going to do is go out and find 100 different voice actors. And you're like, no. I don't want voice actors. I want people who hire voice actors. And then they're going to be like, oh, well, who hires voice actors? And you're like, I don't know. That's what you're supposed to do. That's your job. You don't have to have those conversations when you're working with the people from VA for VO, or at least not to that extent anyway. All right, let's see. What else is going on? I'm not on Voice 123 currently, but I also believe that generally you get out of it what you put into it, and I haven't put into enough of it to know or have any good, fair responses. I would say with Voice 123, it is absolutely, unequivocally essential that you have a fully and completely and wholly optimized profile, regardless of what tier you buy in at. That is rule number one. If you do not have a fully, completely, and wholly optimized profile, and you are not willing to do what is necessary to get that, I would say do not sign up for Voice 123. Do not sign up for Voice 123. If you are on Voice 123 and you want a fully and wholly optimized profile, then talk to Sam. Sam is on the live stream right now. I see her in the chat. Sam Damiano, who is the person that did my profile, literally worked magic on my profile. I am ranking all over the place now. A lot of page 1, page 2 rankings, some page 3 rankings where I was not existent on the platform previously. And that is 100% credit to Sam and the work that she did on my profile. So I would say that is rule number 1 of Voice 123. Rule number 2 of Voice 123 is to not audition too much. You have to be extremely strategic with what you are auditioning. If you are not completely confident that you can book a job, it is probably not worth submitting an audition for. When you take chances on stuff, I'm not going to say you can't book them. The problem is if you submit too many auditions and do not get enough likes, then you will be punished by the algorithm. And so in order to avoid that situation within the best of your ability, because obviously we ultimately have no control over whether or not a client likes our audition. But to the best of your ability, what you do is you only audition for the stuff that you are very confident that you can book. So you have to limit your auditions. I have been on the platform for 3 weeks now, almost 4 weeks. And I have submitted 12 auditions. That's it. Now, partly that's because I haven't had anything decent to audition for, but partly that is because I'm trying to be very strategic. And I am running a 35% audition to like ratio right now, which is okay. I'm not in the basement. I haven't made my way up into the top 10% yet, but I am certainly not in the basement at this point. Rule number 3 of Voice 123, and I know there are people who will debate this with me. It seems more and more like if you do not buy in at least the $2,200 tier, you are probably going to have a very uphill climb on the platform. And to be clear, I bought in at $888. My experience at $888 thus far has been no direct invites, still early. It's only been a couple of weeks that I've been ranking, so I think those direct invites are going to come, and I think that's going to be credit to Sam. My quality of auditions is mostly terrible. The vast majority of the auditions arrive in the overnight hours, and by the time I get into the studio in the morning, they are already closed. It is not uncommon for me to get invited in group 10 or group 11. So that means after all of the elite members have received the audition, after all of the $2,200 members have received the audition, then at $888, I receive the audition. And by that point, a lot of the jobs have already been booked, or they've been closed, or they're already full. And so there is definitely an uphill climb. I'm still early, so I'm not going to make any final decisions at this point. But from all of the conversations that I'm having with people on Voice 123, and I've talked to a lot of people who are at 888, a lot of people who are at 2200, and a lot of people who are at 5000, which is the elite. The ones that seem to be making the platform work the best for them are the ones who are at 2200 and 5000, not the ones who are at 888 or lower. So something to keep in mind. Again, not an expert on the platform yet, still in the early stages, still learning. But based on the data and what I've been through so far, that's what I would say. Do you consider interaction to company socials as a follow-up? I think anytime that you bring yourself back top of mind with them in some capacity. So it could be an email. It could be because you drop a comment on something they share on LinkedIn. It could be because you repost a reel that they shared on Instagram or whatever. Something that's going to put your name back in front of them. I would consider that to be a follow-up. And I would also say, I think that it is important that you do a variety of different types of follow-ups. I don't think that your follow-ups should just exclusively be through email. I think it's to your advantage to follow up in different ways. And again, social media provides a lot of really good opportunities in order to be able to make that happen. Let's see, what else? Are follow-ups usually more successful than the initial email? Yes, in my experience, absolutely. Case in point, I am currently in the process of collecting prizes for the 12 voiceover gifts of Christmas. And I sent out a bunch of emails at the very beginning of the week, Monday and Tuesday, to the 12 people who are going to be my main prize donors this year to confirm that they still wanted to be in on the contest and that they were gonna donate. Several of those people responded to me almost immediately. Today, I sent 6 follow-ups to people who had not responded from the email that I sent Monday and Tuesday. And within 10 minutes of sending those follow-ups, 4 of those 6 had already replied to confirm their prize details. And every one of them was like, I meant to respond, but I was busy, I forgot, I was doing something, I misplaced your email, whatever it was. And so, yes, I absolutely think that I get more traction off of the follow-ups than I do off of the initial email. And I think that is why the follow-ups are so important. I'd like to welcome Briscoe to the last Free Advice Friday that he's ever going to be invited to. Briscoe said some very derogatory things about Dr. Pepper at Mavo on the weekend. And so as such, he will be getting blocked from the YouTube channel. I'm sorry, my friend, but desperate times call for desperate measures. So I wanted to let you pop in one more time, one final time to say hi to everybody, drop your comment or whatever. But after the things that you said about Dr. Pepper on the weekend, I just don't feel that I can have you in my circle anymore, my friend. And so, yeah, it's definitely going to have to block you from the YouTube channel. But thanks for popping by today. It was great to see you. Hi. I have never made LinkedIn ads, not for coaching, or any ads, not for coaching. I will wait. Oh, have you ever made LinkedIn ads? Yes, I have done LinkedIn ads. I have done targeted LinkedIn ads for e-learning. I have done targeted LinkedIn ads for Explainer, and I have done targeted LinkedIn ads for corporate video. I would say from my experience, my best performing LinkedIn ads were the ones that were targeted to e-learning, but I also think that's because they were the easiest ones to target. So that did result in some new connections. It did result in some prospects. It did result in some booked work. So yes, I have done LinkedIn ads in the past with some success. And I do talk about that in Playbook. So if you want to, watch the Playbook videos, I get into that a little bit more deeply. But yes, definitely there are things that are, there are opportunities there with LinkedIn ads, I think. And I would say from a voiceover standpoint, I have had the most success with LinkedIn ads over the other platforms. And I have tried ads on Facebook. I have tried ads on, it was Twitter at the time. And I have tried ads on Instagram. And I definitely had the most luck on the voiceover side from the LinkedIn ads. Do you ever wonder if VA for VO, hiring a VA, is a conflict of interest? How do they avoid this? Just curious. No, I don't think it is. I don't think it is. And here's why. We're all looking for the same stuff and doing the same thing anyway. I do know that there are voice actors who have agreements with their VAs. So, for example, I know one voice actor who has a VA that does lead generation. And the agreement that they have with their VA is that you can reach out to my leads. So you go out and find the leads for me. I'm going to market to them. You can market to them, but you have to wait. And I can't remember if it's 4 or 6 weeks or something like that. So I think that's fair. I know other ones who it's a male voice actor working with a female VA or vice versa. And so then they're not really in competition anyway. And so I do think there are ways that you can work around that. I also think there are ways contractually that you could protect yourself if necessary. But I would not see it as competition and conflict. I would see it as me gaining back my time. And I can do more with that than even if they did reach out. At the end of the day, we're not the same talent. We don't have the same demos. We don't have the same voice. We don't do the same reads, probably, anyway, I assume. So no, I've never thought about it that way. And I've not heard any other voice actors who have used the service that have thought about it that way. Do you have a specific amount of time you set aside for coaching as opposed to marketing doing the work, or does it vary on demand? Yes, it absolutely varies on demand. I do have some set hours, like you can only book coaching with me within certain windows. And that's because I do want a couple hours in the morning. I do not take coaching sessions before 10 a.m., for example. And that's so that I can have an hour or two in the studio in the morning, do some auditions, answer some emails, do some things that I need to do, whatever. I also do not take coaching sessions after 3 p.m., same thing. So I can have a couple hours at the end of my day where I have the ability to do some of the things that I need to do. But some days my coaching sessions are full and I can't accomplish anything. Other days I don't have a full slate of coaching sessions and I'm able to fit some extra stuff in. And I'm not going to lie, there are times when I am literally sitting on the couch at 11:30 at night trying to get stuff done because that's just what I need to do to get things done. And so sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Matt says, I don't have the funds to get a pro demo and have only been doing VDC auditions. Should I make my own demos and start marketing? Hop on Voice 123. I don't want to do only P2P, but I want to keep moving. Matt, I don't think that Voice 123 is the right site for you at this point. And I'll tell you why. The biggest reason is so much of that site is based on the number of clips that you have. You need to have the clips in order to get the matches, in order to be able to get the audition opportunities. And if you don't have any professionally produced demos right now, you're not going to have the clips. So I think you would probably be throwing your money away on Voice 123. Honest opinion. I think voices.com, the algorithm is not as punishing. I still think you need to have clips, and you still need to have the clips that will match the auditions in order to have the greatest opportunity to win. But you still can at least audition. I did a podcast episode with Gina Scarpa 2 weeks ago, and she was explaining voices.com a little bit more in depth. I haven't been on the site for a really long time, so I don't know everything about how it works. So Gina was explaining some of it. One of the things that she talked about was the importance of being a 100% voice match. So on voices.com, you'll get a voice match score, and that voice match score could be 100% or 90% or 80% or 50% or whatever. And Gina talked about the importance of having a 100% voice match score because on the client side, when the auditions are presented to the client, it presents them in the order of match score. So if you're auditioning for something that you're an 80% match for, even if you nailed the audition, but you're only an 80% match because you don't have a clip to correspond with that specific direction, you're going to get heard after all the 100% matches, after all of the 90% matches. And so you may not get heard. And so there's a lot of people that say on voices.com that they're tired of auditioning and their auditions aren't getting listened to. It seems like that's one of the reasons why their auditions aren't getting listened to, because they are not 100% voice matches. And so people just aren't going all the way through. So that would be one of the things that I would be thinking about on voices.com get as many clips as you can. Some of these sites will let you use auditions as clips, so that's an option. But you want to try to be a 100% match for as many things as you can, or at least for the things that you really want to be able to submit for. What are some out of the norm VO categories to market to that may have a smaller group of actors seeking those jobs? Dubbing and descriptive video, I think, are two. And I think there's a lot of people that are worried that those are going to go to AI, and maybe, I don't know. Honestly, I'm not even going to pretend to know at this point. What I do know is that dubbing is hard work and not a lot of people are willing to put in the effort. And so I think that that is an option. And descriptive video, again, hard work. Not a lot of people are willing to put in the effort. And so there's not as many voice actors that are doing it. My understanding from some of the people that I have spoken with who are doing those types of work is that the pay isn't always as good as obviously commercial or something like that, but the work can be very consistent if you get in with the right studios, and so they can keep you busy. So I think those would be a couple of options that I would look at potentially. I do have an episode of the podcast on dubbing. Now it's dubbing specifically for YouTube. But you could search that episode up if you want. And I'm actually going to be doing an interview with someone here next week, I think, on described video. And that's a genre that I know absolutely nothing about. I mean, I know what described video is, but I know nothing about the genre itself. And so I will be having that interview. So that'll be coming out on the podcast in the next couple of weeks. So keep an eye out for that. Tab says, wait, you guys are confident you will book the job based on the audition. It's more of a confidence of, okay, these are the specs and I totally fit these specs. Now, at the end of the day, I cannot get inside the mind of a voice buyer. I think we've all been there. If you've been in this industry long enough, we've all been there where we auditioned for something and we thought, I 100% nailed that. I nailed that according to the specs. And then you hear the finished product and the finished product doesn't sound anything like what the specs were. And so then you're like, oh, maybe I didn't nail it after all. I think so much of this is open to interpretation, right? Ask 100 people to define conversational. You'll get 100 different responses. Ask 100 people to define non-announcer, and you'll get 100 different responses. It's more about when I look at, okay, so an example would be when I see an audition that says strong, confident male voice, right? I'm like, okay, I got a strong, confident male voice. I can do that. But then it says, we need to hire an American male voice actor. Now, my spidey senses are tingling. Why? Because I'm Canadian. So when they say, we want to hire an American actor, are they actually meaning we need to hire an American citizen? Or are what they really saying is we just need to hire somebody that sounds like they're American? I don't know. So I'm not going to take a chance on that audition because even though I could do the strong, confident male read, I am Canadian. And if they actually want to hire an American citizen and they see my Canadian profile, I've probably just lost out on that opportunity. I'm definitely not going to get the like. I've just impacted my algorithm. And so these are the little things that I'm thinking about when I'm looking at it. It's not just, am I a perfect match? Am I a perfect match? And there's nothing in here that's going to play against me. I hate to have to play the game at that level, but because of the way the algorithm works on Voice 123, you kind of have to play the game at that level. I'm jumping onto this live stream from my phone, so now I won't be able to read any more comments because I'm a technologically challenged millennial. How is that even possible, Sam? I'm surprised by this. I'm very surprised by this, Sam. So for everybody who wants to hire Sam to do their Voice 123 profile, make sure that you email her in a very easy way because apparently she can't respond to YouTube comments. Oh my goodness. How can I find these ads? I want to see for research, asking for a friend. Yeah, those Facebook or those YouTube LinkedIn ads are no longer running, but Tabs, I don't know if you've heard about this voiceover marketing playbook that I'm pretty sure you bought. There's a module that talks about it, and I share some examples of some of the ads in playbook. Just saying, you might want to take a look. TJ, thank goodness it's Free Advice Friday. Jumping in a little late, looking forward to replaying the first 30 minutes. Hey, Did your flight actually get canceled for Mavo? Were you one of the ones? I was reading a little bit about what was going on. I felt so bad there were so many people that got so screwed. I was so glad I drove. Smash the like button, subscribe, and share. Let's help Mark reach more people. Hey, yes, thank you. I appreciate that. I would certainly appreciate if you would hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. When you are subscribed, then you will always be able to get notified whenever I am going live. And I try to do these as often as I can. Again, if you do have a question that you would like to ask and get answered, feel free to type it into the comments, put a Q beside it. That'll make it a little bit easier for me to see and pop out on my screen. Guys, I want to tell you about a workshop that I am doing next week called Booked for the Holidays. This is going to be a 1-hour workshop. We're going to go live on Zoom. And I'm going to give you a dozen different fun and unique strategies to market yourself over the holiday season. Let me tell you right now, I have coached thousands of voice actors. Of the thousands of voice actors that I have coached, multi-hundreds of them have already stopped marketing because they feel like it is pointless. Now, the reality is voice actors will look for any excuse that they can find to not market. That's just the nature of the voice actor. We can't help ourselves. But as the holidays approach, it's like, no, it's not even worth it. Everybody's going to be out of the office. It's like they think the whole world shuts down the week before Thanksgiving and does not open up again until the week after New Year's. That is obviously not the case. So for the voice actor who is willing to market throughout the holiday season, which means starting now all the way through into the new year, I think that you can create opportunities for yourself. Booked for the Holidays is going to give you a dozen different fun and unique marketing strategies. But wait, there's more. I'm going to teach a dozen strategies live in the workshop, but I'm going to be offering up a bonus resource for everybody who attends, which is going to offer a whole bunch more marketing ideas. At least a dozen, probably going to end up being more. You know me, I always go overboard. So let me tell you about this live stream. Live workshop, November 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern, November 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern. So pick the time that is most appropriate for you. When you sign up, if you are unable to attend for any reason, do not worry. You will get access to a complete video recording. You will be able to go back and watch this as often as you would like. Sign up before the live stream happens, and it's only $47. As soon as the event goes live, the price goes up to $97. So if you decide next week, I want to buy the replay, it's going to cost you $97. If you sign up early, $47. So if you go to VOpreneur.com and click on the store button, let me put this in the chat, booked for the holidays. If you go to VOpreneur.com, click on store, the two options are right there. You can choose whichever one you want to sign up for. $47, 1-hour workshop, a dozen ideas, plus the bonus ideas that are going to be coming after the fact. So definitely want to check that out. Booked for the holidays. That one's happening next week. I've been working on it all day today, actually, and really looking forward to teaching that class. Briscoe, I told you weren't allowed on my live stream anymore. Now you just keep asking questions. Okay, the holidays are quickly approaching, so is there any advice you have for us on booking at this time of year? Yes, you should book at this time of year. I highly encourage all voice actors to book at this time of year. I'm going to give you a couple of pieces of advice. One, which is what I just talked about. Assume that the majority of your peers are going to quit marketing in December. They've already given up, which means now you have less competition in the inbox. You have less competition on social media. It's easier for you to get in front of people. So take advantage of that. That's number one. Number two, the world does not actually shut down for the holidays, contrary to popular belief. So be available. I think that's absolutely important. And let people know that you're available. We like to send out emails that say, hey, I'm going to be out of the office from such and such until such and such. I think it's just as valuable to send an email over the holidays that says, here's what my availability is going to be during the holidays. And I will be in the office up until this point on December 24th or, whatever it is. Let people know. That helps them to be able to plan accordingly and plan in advance. And so I think that's something else that we can be thinking about. So I do think that there is a lot of work that still happens. I think you've got companies that are trying to complete projects before the end of the year. You've got companies who are trying to use up budget before the end of the year, because if you don't use up the budget this year, you're not getting the budget back next year. And so I do still think there are opportunities. I don't think that everybody should be giving up at this point. So yes, I definitely think that you should still be trying to get booked for the holidays. What is described video? Described video is for hearing impaired. So if you're watching a movie and you're hearing impaired, you're watching the movie on mute, there's a descriptive voice that's literally saying, there's a man with a beard and a black hoodie, sitting in a room that glows blue with an orange wall behind him and a white door. He has a fake IKEA plant on the shelf behind him, and he's trying to give advice to voice actors and sound intelligent and wise. Sometimes he does it better than others. And so there's literally just a describe. I actually have to have described video for Free Advice Friday now. But yeah, that's it. It's just somebody setting the scene and walking you through what's happening. I'm not hearing impaired, visually impaired. I apologize. Visually impaired. It's for the visually impaired so that they can still keep up with what's going on. So yeah, that's described video. And you'll find it. Most shows have it, movies, all of that sort of stuff. And so there's a very large market for it. The pay versus the work is not a good ratio in regards to dubbing. And I have heard that, but I have also heard voice actors who say that they make up for it in volume. And so, there's a trade-off, right? Not every genre is right for every person. And so that's something to think about, because I think you would also have people that would argue that in the audiobook space, depending on the type of work that you're doing. I did not know that if you are any less than a 100% match on voices, they will listen to all the 100% first. Yeah, that's the way Gina explained it to me. And so what she said was anytime she sees a job that she is not a 100% match for, she's going to then go and try to create a clip and add it to her profile to make sure that she has a clip that matches that spec going forward so that she will be a 100% match next time. And that's why she has a bazillion clips on her profile. Remind me again, Tabs, when did you buy it? A year ago? Actually, you know what? Let me look it up. So that we can have some public accountability. Should we do that? Should we have some public accountability right now? Sometimes, you just got to have a little bit of public accountability. Bought the playbook. Hang on. Please stand by. Purchases. October 2nd of 2024. So in 13 months, you haven't been able to watch 8 hours of content? Tisk, 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 tisk. Oh, the public accountability stings. It stings so bad. You heard me say I knew it was going to happen because it was upgraded too good to be true. You jinxed it. You jinxed it. You did it to yourself. You brought it on yourself when you said that, and you totally jinxed it. Man, I'm sorry that happened. There was so many people that were struggling to get home. I had to drive through crappy snow and freezing rain for a while, which was not fun, but at least I was able to get home. So when is the deadline for the early pricing? I'm booked for the holidays. You have to buy it before the event. So if you are going to do the November 18th one, you have to sign up before the event goes live and you will get the $47 price. If you sign up after that point, you will go to $97. So make sure, bottom line is if you have not purchased by the final event, which is November 20th at 1 o'clock, the price will go up to $97. What we really want to know is what is on the menu for Christmas this year after the 12 gifts, which I will definitely win something this year, right? No, actually, you've been blackballed. Your name will be immediately flagged because you said derogatory things about Dr. Pepper. I don't know what I'm doing for Christmas dinner this year, but there will probably be a smoked turkey involved. Guys, let me just say, I have started working feverishly on 12 voiceover gifts of Christmas. I am behind the 8 ball this year. I fully own it. I got a lot going on. I'm trying to keep up. I have only collected the first 5 prizes, and we are already over $10,000. So last year, over $36,000 in prizes was given away. I believe it was like $36,913 or something like that. And there were over 80 people who actually won several hundred people watching on the live stream, which was really fun. So I don't know that it's going to be possible to top last year's prize total. Like, that was just crazy. But I am in full blown prize collection mode, and we'll hopefully have the sign up sheet, sign up entry page ready to go by December 1st. That is my goal. Do you have any recommendations for anyone who directs and produces commercial demos outside of the top 3 demo producers? I guess that depends on who you consider to be the top 3 demo producers. JMC, probably one of the top. Angangusa does demos. GVAA does demos. Demo Dream Team does demos. Everett Oliver, Dave Walsh, Hugh Klitsky, Kelly Mashinsky. All of them do demos, and all of them are fantastic. I think Marilyn Wisner does as well. The reality, commercial demos are going to be expensive demos. That's just the reality. They also have a pretty strong upside earning potential, which is part of it. But there's a lot of production and nuance that goes into those demos versus telephony demo, for example. So I would say in most cases, probably expect to spend about $2,500 on a commercial demo. If you're going to get a commercial demo produced by any of the reputable demo producers, at least any of the ones that I know, I would say you're probably going to spend around $2,500. Expect to spend around $2,500. How often is it okay to post wins and testimonials before you look obnoxious? Well, that depends. Are we talking about you, or are we talking about for the rest of us? I don't think the testimonials are obnoxious when they're a good testimonial. I really don't. Would it be my exclusive social media content? No, it would not be my exclusive social media content. I also think when you're talking about wins, I think there's different ways that you can do it. If I'm posting a project that I've worked on, what I really like to talk about is the project. And I really like to talk about what the client that I had the opportunity to work with. So it's not a, hey, look at me and this thing that I did. It's hey, I just had the opportunity to collaborate with a really cool production company on a really awesome project, and I just wanted you to see the finished product. So I do think it makes a difference how you share it. But I think there's just a ton of value in testimonials, and I think that you need to have them everywhere. I think you need to have them on your website. I think you should be updating them. I think you should include them in your social media. I think you can put them in email. I include testimonials in some of my follow-up emails because that is social proof. That stuff speaks very strongly. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. Any advice on building a daily audition marketing schedule? I've got a full-time job and I underestimated my energy output. I fully believe in my VO journey, but struggle with consistency. Man, I get it. I had a full-time job when I first started, and it is tough. I was a single guy, which made a huge difference. I would be so screwed if I was starting today with a wife and 4 daughters. I definitely worked longer hours than I always wanted to work. But that was because I genuinely believed in my goal. And so I was committed to my goal. I think what you can do is try to set some basic numbers for yourself, right? I need to get X number of auditions and X number of emails, or X number of auditions, X number of emails, and X number of social media done on any given week, right? So maybe it's like, I need to submit 20 auditions, I need to send 25 emails, and I need to do 3 social media posts. And so you give yourself something that you can measure against. And some days you're going to come home from work and you're going to have more energy and more time, and you're going to do more emails. And some days you're going to come home from work and you're going to have no energy and no time, and you're not going to do anything. But it's okay because you did extra the night before, or you're going to be able to do extra tomorrow. But you give yourself something that you can measure against. I think that's so important, to give yourself something that you can measure against. And so set some numbers for yourself. Give yourself goals that you can actually check off on a list. If don't give up. If you truly believe this is the thing, right? Don't give up. But I would also say, I understand when money's tight, there's only so much that you can do. Auditioning consistently and practicing consistently is amazing if you're auditioning in the right way and practicing good habits. What you don't want to do is submit a whole bunch of auditions and do a whole bunch of daily practice, but reinforcing bad habits because that's not the way the read should be done, or that's not what that direction actually means, or whatever. And so prioritizing working with a coach who can get you moving in the right direction, taking any kind of training opportunity that you can, right? Maybe you can't afford a one-on-one coaching session with someone, but maybe you could afford one of their group workshops, because you can get in on some of these group workshops, even if you just audit the group workshop, right? Like Hugh Klitsky does this, Ann Ganguza does this. I think Marilyn Wisner does this. There's a bunch of people that teach classes, and maybe they have 10 participation spots, right? So you pay X number of dollars to participate, but you pay a lesser amount to just audit and watch, right? You get to be a fly on the wall. So even though you may not get the direct feedback as a participant, you're still there and you're still observing and you're still taking notes and you're still learning. And you can do that on a much smaller budget than a coaching session, right? You might be able to audit one of these classes for 35 or $50 as opposed to a coaching session, which might cost you $200. And so, if you had a $200 budget, you might be able to do 4 different workshops and audit 4 different classes for the price of what you would spend on one coaching session. Maybe that makes it go a little bit further, right? So that's something else that I would certainly want to be thinking about. All right, guys, thank you. Thank you for joining me on Free Advice Friday. One more question. What are the top mindset shifts you need to make to audition faster? It's really about confidence. It's about confidence and not constantly second guessing yourself. And honestly, it's not even about second guessing. It's about third guessing, fourth guessing, 15th guessing, 27th guessing, which I think some of us do sometimes, myself included. Sometimes I walk in and I'm like, 2 takes, there they are. Boom, done. In and out in 60 seconds. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I've been in here for 25 minutes. I probably need to stop now. Which brings me back to a quote that Kelly Mashinsky made at Mavo on the weekend. I posted it on my LinkedIn earlier, which was, let me get it right now. Perfection is procrastination dressed up in a tux. Perfection is procrastination dressed up in a tux, right? We're trying to get the perfect read, the perfect audition, submit the perfect take. And the reality is that sometimes we're just using that as an excuse, and we're procrastinating and we're working way harder than we probably need to. We're overthinking way more than we probably should be. And so a big part of that is just developing your confidence. And, I will say, look, I'm a veteran guy. I've made good money in this industry. I've booked some cool stuff. I still feel it. When you're submitting to your agents, you're not getting any feedback. Did you make the short list? Did they like it? Was it a good audition? Was it a terrible audition? I have no idea, right? When you're submitting for client jobs and you don't book the job, that doesn't necessarily mean that your audition was bad. Maybe it was, I don't know, but maybe it was good. I don't know. And that's the whole point, is that I don't get any feedback. And so sometimes that can even mess with my head. I own that. Going on Voice 123, and in the first few weeks, as frustrating as that platform has been, and it's been frustrating, running that 35% like ratio was a little bit of validation for me, like legitimately. And I talked about that with Brad when I was coaching in one of my coaching sessions with Brad. I said, like, that made me feel so good. I said, I know it wasn't a booking, but it's the first legitimate piece of feedback that I've had in quite a while that, okay, my auditions don't suck completely, right? Like 35% like ratio on Voice 123, I'll take that. That's pretty good. And it probably means that I'm this close, right? So hopefully whatever this little thing is that I just haven't quite figured out yet, I figure it out when I'm coaching with Brad, and then I turn that into actual bookings, right? That's the goal. But I recognize the mindset, how important mindset is in all of this. And that is one of the reasons why it's something that I'm always trying to be so super cognizant of, so that I am keeping my head in the right space. But a lot of it just has to do with being confident. When you're going in the booth over and over and over again, and it feels like nothing's happening, the longer that goes on, the easier it is to start talking yourself down. Don't talk yourself down. Get in a workout group. Do what I just talked about, audit one of these classes, get with a coach, something, so that somebody can say, no, you're doing great. Your reads are great. Or you know what? You're 90% of the way there, but if we tweak this, maybe that's what gets you 100. But just be careful of your self-talk because it's really easy. Our brains are hardwired to negativity bias. It's scientific. Look it up. Avoid that. Be cautious of that. Always be cognizant of your self-talk. All right, guys, I got to jump out. I got some stuff I got to do this afternoon, including finishing up my class. Thank you for joining me on Free Advice Friday. As always, thank you for your questions. Thank you for trusting me to offer good advice. I certainly hope that I offer good advice. I certainly try to offer good advice. Don't forget, check out the class booked for the holidays, November 18th, 7 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Eastern, November 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Watch live if you can. I would love to have you live, but if you are unable to join live, remember you will get access to a complete video recording, so you will not miss anything. Go to VOpreneur.com, click on store right there. VOpreneur.com, click on store. It's at the top of the page. Register for either one of those classes. Would love to see you next week. All right, everyone. Thank you. Whatever you decide to do for the rest of the weekend, have fun. Stay safe, and as always, go find some leads.